Told you.
Wait.
We're gonna hang out. Gonna watch a movie.
No.
Gonna take some pictures.
Wait.
Okay.
Just wait.
When will studios allow shows to die? History has proven to us that every single reboot they created has become financial disasters.
Cowboy Bebop. Netflix really botched that one up. A beloved anime with fans everywhere, and they ruined it.
I'm a little worried about the One Piece Netflix adaptation, but at least it can't be as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution.
Nothing's as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. That's a really low bar.
See, and that's the problem about these reboots. They take a show that's memorable, they change so much about it, we don't even know who the target audience is. It's definitely not the fans.
Yeah, so many of these shows feel like they're made for people that have never seen the original series, and they don't know who the characters are, so they're the only people who could enjoy these new, fresh takes.
At least Animaniacs is faithful to its original source material.
You see, that's the problem with the Velma TV series. They take an iconic show, change so much about it, we can't even say that it's faithful to the Scooby Doo franchise. Where's Scooby Doo?
Where are you?
So the Velma TV series has been a hot topic of debate and discussion, and we finally got around to watching it. And this show definitely wasn't what I was expecting. As far as the Scooby Doo spin-off goes, it blew me out of the water, to be honest.
So would you say this is by far the worst Scooby Doo spinoff?
As far as what I've seen goes, yeah, I really don't like this show.
Okay, I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. When I saw that trailer, it was completely misleading. The show was a lot worse.
The trailer itself didn't really prepare me for what was in store in some of these episodes. The very essence of Scooby Doo feels like it's been, again, put on the back burner just so they could promote personal agendas.
Literally every episode doesn't involve too much mystery. 50% of it is mostly about teen dramas. I guess 50% of that is mostly Velma being rude to everyone around her.
They want Velma to be a tougher character, right? But does she really have to be so mean and crabby all the time, though? It feels like she's always upset about something and she's always taking out her feelings on someone else. Why remake an old show like Scooby Doo? I mean, and I know Scooby Doo has had a bunch of remakes and a bunch of like live action movies and animated movies, and I'm not gonna lie, I am a big fan. I don't actively go out and try to watch Scooby Doo series whenever they come out, but you know, I've seen plenty of them when I was younger and saw a few of the movies when I was growing up, and I loved them. I loved Scooby Doo.
Face it, remaking an iconic TV series, it makes sense. It's something that's already been established, people liked it, so we're bound to have another remake of a popular TV series. It's just, this is, to be honest, not the best they could have done.
The positive thing that I see with the Scooby-Doo remakes, such as What's New Scooby-Doo and also Mystery Incorporated, and some of those modern movies technically, is that we get to see what Scooby-Doo could have been. Because I'm not gonna lie, the old Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo, it was a little janky. If we just move nostalgia to the side, like maybe this show wasn't really trying to cater to people who are fans of the old shows, but try to bring in new fans as well. But even when it comes to like a new IP, I don't think people would actually like this.
Yeah, and that's one of the big issues, right? Like, they want to modernize the shows, and I get that. You got to kind of evolve with the times.
Like the old Scooby-Doo, like it's all formulaic, it's basically the exact same plot all the time. Like Mystery Incorporated, I guess people want like a new Scooby-Doo that's a little more story-driven.
What's the difference between What's New Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated, and Velma? Mystery Incorporated and What's New Scooby-Doo were the modern Scooby-Doo franchises of that era. But what happened? They kept the same formula, everything you love about the gang was still there, and to be honest, not much changed.
Well, to be fair, actually a lot changed between some of those series though, whether it was the modernization of their stories. For example, What's New Scooby-Doo, whereas the Mystery Incorporated really took the series in this new direction. I mean, suddenly now we have these stories of gods being involved in the world, and we have monsters that are actually real in their world. I mean, I guess when you look back, it is kind of like incorporating some of that like Zombie Island stuff, right? Where now you have like real magic.
That movie gave me serious vibes.
I'm not gonna lie, that was like the best Scooby-Doo movie ever, but Mystery Incorporated was completely different than some of the original stuff we've seen. And it kept enough of the nostalgia. They took the time to show you these are the same people you've always loved, but just a little bit different.
And see, that's the curse of Velma. The TV series only has modernization, and the only nostalgia you see in that show was basically Easter egg cameos of their previous villains and other Hanna-Barbera properties. I'm sad to say, but the only thing I'm familiar with that show is only the fact that you know it's supposed to be the Mystery Gang, but that's it.
What's interesting about modernizations is that people's perception of cartoons have changed as well. Like, you know how most cartoons, especially in late 90s, they're very episodic. They don't really lead anywhere. They're not really story driven. Well, modern cartoons like Gravity Falls, those are story focused shows that you know it's going to have a conclusion, or season 1's going to lead to season 2. Nowadays, people want story focused shows.
The only problem though is, when do you cross that line where you're no longer respecting the legacy of what it is you're trying to reinterpret?
You know what's sad? Teen Titans Go was more faithful to Teen Titans than Velma was to Scooby Doo.
Sadly, it was.
At least all the characters look how you expect them to look. I think our greatest sin is that we just assume Norvell was Shaggy. He doesn't look anything like Shaggy, nor does he act like Shaggy either. Like, where's the like Scooby?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Like, the characters are so different than they used to be. Okay, I get how they did try to change some things and they did try to improve a few things. Shaggy's doing something more now than just being that hungry hippie guy, but somehow it feels like he's still being neglected as a character. He's not really doing much more than just on occasion moving the story forward just so that Velma has a story.
Yeah, I noticed Norville's the only one progressing the TV series. Our supposedly, junior detective Velma, it hasn't even done anything to contribute to her mother's mystery. Norville was the one who actually had to go find the clues and had to do the interrogations.
They want to make Velma into this smart, witty character, but it feels like now she's more of a narrow-minded character than she ever was. This is a character who went from being clever and able to outthink the villains to now being the exact same as everyone else in the series. All the popular girls that are mean to her, she's the same as they are. She's just as mean, she's just as rude. I mean, I don't really see the difference between her personality and any of the other characters that are supposedly mean characters.
Yeah, everyone in this series is very one-dimensional, What you see is what you get. There's nothing complicated about them. Everyone's just a jerk, and you should like them because of that.
I just don't really recognize any of these characters. Norville, he's Shaggy to me. He's always going to be Shaggy to me. Shaggy is not the same Shaggy that he's always been. And for whatever positive things they may have changed about him, he's still not as funny as original Shaggy. Without Scooby, it feels like he's just not Shaggy. It feels like he's just some guy who's there who's on the team. But Scooby and Shaggy were always best buds. Seeing them getting in and out of trouble was always just a part of the jokes that you get from Scooby Doo.
I think it was very funny is that the trailer really tries hard to promote the fact that this is not your regular Scooby Doo.
I think that deviation that they made to let us know that this was not going to be the original Scooby-Doo was definitely the worst thing they could have done. Because I get it, they want to appeal to a newer audience, but there's a big problem here. You're talking about a spin-off for a series that's already been around for a very long time. This thing, you're talking about a series that's been around for like, what, maybe 40 years or so, right? This series is going to appeal to people who are familiar with that franchise. So why purposely go out of the way to make it sound like this series isn't going to be the original series you remember without even giving us any reason to think, well, maybe that could be a good thing.
See, and that's the biggest risk of failure of changing something so iconic. The fact that you're gonna rile up some feathers. Oh, I never saw this much controversy with Velma ever since the whole Sonic fiasco when they made that really horrible demonic Sonic.
This is, I think, where we find the biggest difference, though, where the Sonic franchise, at least, they had altered Sonic's physical appearance only. As far as who he was, they stayed true to the original. He still had the same personality. Here, though, they went so far off, it feels like not only is it not the same show, but it's hard to even pinpoint who this really should even appeal to. With Sonic, you know it's going to be Sonic fans, so they try their best to stay true. With this series, though, who is it really made for, though? Did they even know before they designed the characters? Did they even have this planned out before they even put out the first episode?
You can tell that this show was trying to gear toward a very small demographic. All these meta jokes, zoomer humor, yeah, they're trying to go for people who definitely don't care about Scooby Doo.
It feels like they just made this franchise because they needed to make a franchise. I mean, as far as the series goes, it has a lot of bad moments, so I guess in order to sort of change the mood a little, are there any moments that you liked?
Well, I guess when the background characters say something funny, like when Fred got out of the car, he was trying to make himself look cute and innocent, because they thought he's not a serial killer. But when there's water poured on him, he looked like Hitler. And one background character said,
"Oh God, he looks like Hitler!" And not just because we compare everyone to Hitler these days.
I guess I got a little chuckle out of me because it was a little unexpected.
I know it may be a little dark, okay, but my favorite part of this entire franchise was when I thought Velma was gonna have a heart attack and boom, series ends.
Oh, that one part where she's really freaking out before she gets kissed?
No. I'm talking about the part where she was looking at the camera. I was like, yes, finally, she's about to die, show over.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I really would have wanted the series to end right there and then, but it continued on somehow, right? And with this series, I think my favorite part of it is possibly just the one thing they did with Shaggy, which was include him more in actually solving the mystery.
Yeah, the problem with Norvell is that you thought he was gaining independence. You thought he doesn't really need Velma anymore. She was very mean to him. But he has to go back to her because he loves her, I guess. Because season 2 is happening. And season 2, they want to basically start back from square one.
Pretty much. I mean, that's more than likely what they're going to do. It's coming out as a lot of series when they don't really have a story that's developing. They just kind of keep running around in circles.
See, and that's the one thing I don't get. An adult comedy version of a memorable cartoon franchise has been done before. Everyone knows what Adult Swim is. The first original episodes that Adult Swim ever had, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, and Harvey Birdman Trail Law, those shows focus a lot on poking fun on Hanna-Barbera's work. So how did HBO Max really drop the ball?
And even stuff like Venture Bros, which was just a complete parody altogether of like the Johnny Quest franchise. Even that was more intelligently done, where they did their best, not just say, this was something that we thought was funny or that was ridiculous about that series, but to give us a new twist to it.
See, and that's what I like about those shows. When they try to make fun of the franchise, they really did with, good laughter. But with Velma, you can tell they really try to put a lot of agendas and self-inserts.
They did, and I think the worst part is just a lot of insulting humor though.
Man, if I ever even think about getting into 420 culture, or especially 420 related humor, kill me. You know what 420 is, right?
Yeah. It's code for adults who still watch cartoons.
Like somehow the series couldn't really make a name for itself if it didn't receive the controversy, which makes me wonder if maybe that controversy is actually what they wanted, and maybe they thought that would be the best way to sort of fuel the flames for the series.
I was starting to think that maybe the series, they remade it and made it into a spite fest because of the previous controversies. Because you've heard about how many controversies it had before the series was announced, or even when the trailers came out. Kind of reminds me of Little Rick and Morty, where Justin Roiland purposely put in like a lot of spiteful humor, trying to be meta by saying like, oh look, we're self-aware of what people are complaining about the series.
I don't know. I mean, they changed all the characters so drastically, they made them more hateable than anything else.
Maybe that's what they want, regardless if it's like good or bad criticism.
You know what's very strange? The fact that we had people who wrote and directed The Office doing this show. There was nothing that reminds me of The Office when I watched Velma.
One of the biggest mistakes they made was obviously not having Scooby Doo, but that's probably for the best though, because I think if they had Scooby, I'm just scared of what they would have done.
Maybe they'll probably turn him into a demon dog.
Groovy! Wake up! Mystery time!
Please, Groove, just say something to him. Say a hi or anything, just so they'll believe me.
Not here to talk to them. You are the hand chosen by the master.
No.
Yours is the field of blood. Yours is the sword of Michael.
I guess now then, we can talk a little bit about whether or not you think this series could be fixed.
Yes, I do. The only way to fix this TV series is to do a complete reboot. But get rid of the people who directed and produced the show and put in an actual competent staff. An adult-rated Hanna-Barbera parody has been done before.
Yeah, I think at this point that might be the only thing you can do. So if you listen to the feedback, people are really unhappy with this. It even ranked lower than Dragon Ball Evolution, if you can even believe that.
After watching this show, I believe it.
This is why it's so important that this show start to reconnect with its roots. It really needs to get back to what made Scooby Doo Scooby Doo. That's the only way that they're going to resolve this, because the fans want some of that original story back from the original Scooby Doo. Because I don't think anyone really wants the show to just fail. I think people just really want this show to be an extension of the Scooby Doo franchise.
Well, we're in the modern age where reboots and remakes are so common. I mean, look at the Disney movies, the Star Wars movies. They're ultimately made because they're running out of ideas of newer properties. But that's the thing, when is it ever a good time to make a remake? I mean, to be fair, you will always get a lot of hate, regardless if it's like a good reboot. With most remakes, they're almost never going to be exactly how you remember the originals. You're always going to get a lot of criticism, and that's what the studios should understand.
That's why it becomes so important, I think, to stay true to the original as well, though. If the point is to get a new audience, then yeah, you need to modernize. But if you also want to get older fans to go back to watching this series, especially considering the fact that the older fans, let's face it, right now they're more than likely the only ones who would be willing to go back to watch the series if they did try to make any changes to it. So appeal to them. Did you know that apparently Frank Welker, the original voice of Fred, actually is Fred's father in this series?
Ah, it's impressive. No wonder he sounds so familiar.
Yeah, he did. When I first heard him, I don't know, maybe I was blinded by how bad the show was. I couldn't really hear it, but...
You're embarrassing yourself, Frederick. It's bad enough you still eat pancakes and drink non-alcoholic beverages like a baby.
After like 2 or 3 episodes, I realized, wait a minute, that was Fred.
The voice actor Shaggy supported Velma because apparently Warner Brothers did not hire him to voice act Shaggy in the movie Scoob. He was rooting for Velma's success out of spite.
You know, I don't blame them. They should have used him. Why in the world did they not hire Matthew Lillard?
Imagine watching a Batman TV series or movie and not hearing Kevin Conroy. That right there is blasphemy.
Amen. Thanks for watching till the very end. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a big thumbs up. If you have any suggestions for us, leave it in the comments below. Or if you just want to chat, leave that in the comments below too. We'd like to hear your thoughts on this video. This is Nerd Fantasy Talk, signing off.
Adios.
Catch you on the flip side.